Chapter 1. The Moment of Readiness. Imagine this for a second. You've been walking through a long, dark tunnel. Every step feels uncertain, but you keep moving because somewhere deep inside, you believe there is light at the end. Now pause and ask yourself, what if the light is no longer something you're chasing, but something you've already started to carry within you? That is the essence of knowing whether you are ready for reunion with your twin flame. Reunion is not simply a romantic event where two people come back together after separation. It is the natural outcome of deep inner transformation. But here's the paradox. Reunion does not come when you are desperately waiting for it. It comes when you've reached a state of peace so complete, so grounded, that you no longer need it to feel whole. So, how do you know if you've arrived at that point? Let's begin this journey by looking at the very first and most crucial sign: emotional independence. From dependency to self-mastery. In the early stages of the twin flame journey, it's common to feel a sense of obsession. Your emotions rise and fall depending on what your counterpart is doing. If they text you, your day is bright. If they pull away, your heart sinks into darkness. You may find yourself replaying every word, every silence, every subtle signal, wondering what it means. This emotional roller coaster is not weakness. It is part of the awakening. But it is also a clear signal that you are not yet ready for reunion. Because reunion requires two people who can meet as equals, not as two halves still clinging to each other for survival. Think of it like this. If your happiness is a balloon tied to their hand, then the moment they let go, you come crashing down. True readiness begins when you realize your happiness is not in their pocket. It's in your own chest, in the steady rhythm of your own heart. A story of transformation. Let me give you an example. There was a woman named Elena who met her twin flame in her early 20s. Their connection was undeniable, magnetic, intoxicating, and overwhelming. But every time he pulled away, she felt like she was drowning. She couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't focus. Her sense of self was completely tied to whether he was near or far. For years, she thought this suffering was proof of love. She believed the pain validated the bond. But as time passed, she realized something deeper. The pain was not about him, it was about her. It was about her own unhealed wounds, her abandonment issues, her childhood fears, her belief that she was incomplete without someone else's approval. The turning point came when Elena decided to stop chasing him and start chasing her own healing. She went to therapy. She learned meditation. She started painting again, something she had abandoned as a child. Slowly, she found joy in her own company. One day she noticed something shocking. She could go a whole week without thinking of him, and she didn't feel empty. She felt full. That was the moment she realized she was no longer emotionally dependent. And ironically, that was also the exact period when he returned, seeking reconnection. The inner question. So let me ask you, if your twin flame showed up today, would you welcome them with calm, or would you cling to them out of fear they might leave again? True emotional independence means this. You can love them deeply, but you don't need them to survive. You can hold space for them, but you don't lose yourself in the process. You no longer bargain with your soul. If they love me, then I'm enough. Instead, you live from the truth. I am enough already, and I choose to share my fullness. The illusion of control. One of the hardest lessons on this path is realizing you cannot control reunion. You cannot manipulate the timing, the circumstances, or the other person's healing. The only thing you can control is yourself, your inner state, your growth, your choices. Ask yourself honestly, are you still refreshing their social media, reading into every post, every story, every hidden meaning? Or have you reached a place where their silence no longer threatens your peace? Because here's the secret. Reunion happens not when you chase them, but when you release them. It's like holding water in your hand. Grasp too tightly, and it slips through your fingers. Hold your palm open, and the water rests gently without effort. The energy shift. When you are emotionally independent, the energy between you and your twin flame changes. Instead of sending out waves of fear, anxiety, or obsession, you radiate calm. You no longer vibrate at the frequency of lack, but at the frequency of abundance. Think of how the universe responds to energy. If you are saying, I need them, I cannot live without them, the universe reflects back situations that reinforce That neediness, distance, silence, lessons in letting go. But if your energy says, I am whole, I am aligned, and I welcome love without attachment, the universe can finally allow reunion to unfold. The mirror of independence. Remember, twin flames are mirrors. If you are emotionally unstable, they will often reflect instability back to you. If you are grounded and at peace, they begin to mirror that peace. Your independence invites their independence. Your healing invites their healing. So the first sign you're ready for reunion is not that you've mastered every spiritual lesson, but that you no longer ride the roller coaster of emotions every time they step forward or step back. You have stepped off the ride, planted your feet on the ground, and learned how to walk with stability. A gentle reminder. This doesn't mean you never miss them. It doesn't mean you don't feel pain sometimes. It simply means you no longer drown in it. You can hold your feelings like waves, passing through the ocean of your being, intense but temporary. And you, the ocean, remain vast and unbroken. That is the quiet power of readiness. You stop asking, when will reunion happen? And you start living as if reunion has already happened inside you. Closing thought for Chapter 1. So let me ask again, are you carrying your own light now, or are you still searching for it in someone else's eyes? When the answer becomes clear, when your joy no longer depends on their presence, you are already living the first and most essential sign of readiness for reunion. Chapter 2. The heart that forgives. When most people think about reunion, they imagine a cinematic moment. Two souls running back into each other's arms, the past dissolved in one single embrace. But what they don't always realize is this. Reunion cannot happen in a heart still carrying heavy stones of anger, resentment, and blame. It's like trying to plant a seed in soil filled with rocks. It simply cannot grow. So the second sign you are truly ready for reunion is when your heart has softened, expanded, and opened to a level where blame no longer controls your connection. From wounds to compassion. Let's be honest. Your twin flame may have hurt you. Maybe they left without explanation. Maybe they chose another partner. Maybe they shut you out right when you needed them most. And it's natural, almost inevitable, that pain becomes anger. You might have told yourself, if they really loved me, they wouldn't have done that. Or perhaps, they ruined everything we could have been happy. But here is the difficult truth. As long as blame holds a throne in your heart, reunion cannot take place. Why? Because reunion is not built on punishment, it is built on compassion. Forgiveness doesn't mean you approve of what they did. It doesn't mean forgetting. Forgiveness is simply releasing the weight of blame so you can walk free again. The mirror of imperfection. Consider this. Your twin flame is not perfect. They are not meant to be. They are human, carrying their own scars, fears, and traumas just like you. What you experienced as rejection may have been their defense mechanism. What felt like betrayal may have been their own inability to face the intensity of love. Ask yourself, if they mirrored back to you your deepest wounds, can you also see that you mirrored theirs? Blame keeps us trapped in the illusion that the other person is the villain, and we are the victim. But twin flame journeys are never that simple. In truth, both are students in the same classroom, struggling through lessons that sometimes cut painfully deep. A story of release. Let me tell you a story. Marcus had been separated from his twin flame for almost 5 years. The breakup was brutal. She had suddenly blocked him, left him without closure, and moved across the country. For years, Marcus lived with anger boiling in his chest. He replayed the rejection every night, cursing her in his thoughts. But despite all that rage, he couldn't let go. Her memory haunted him. No matter how many times he told himself he hated her, deep inside he knew he loved her. One day, after exhausting himself with bitterness, Marcus had a breakdown. He fell to his knees and cried, not just for her but for himself. And in that moment of raw honesty he realized, his anger wasn't really about her. It was about the wound of abandonment he had carried since childhood. When his father walked away from the family, she had simply triggered that wound, forcing him to face it. When Marcus saw this, something shifted. Instead of hating her, he began to understand her. Instead of seeing her as the one who hurt him, he saw her as the one who unknowingly helped him uncover a pain he had long buried. That night, for the first time in years, he whispered, "I forgive you." And I forgive myself. From then on, his energy changed. He no longer carried the weight of blame. Months later, she reached out again. Not by accident, but because the energetic cord between them had finally been cleared. The inner question. So let me ask you directly. When you think of your twin flame, do you still feel anger rising like fire in your chest? Do you still carry mental arguments rehearsing what you would say if they ever came back? Or have you reached a place where you can look back and feel peace, even gratitude for the lessons? This is not an easy question. Forgiveness is one of the hardest spiritual muscles to train, but it is also the most liberating. Why blame blocks reunion? Blame acts like a wall. You may think you are protecting yourself from more pain, but in reality, you are only building distance between your soul and theirs. Reunion requires open space, not closed walls. Imagine trying to embrace someone while holding a shield in front of your chest. No matter how much you long for connection, the shield will keep them out. When you lay down the shield of blame, your arms are finally free to embrace not just them but life itself. Forgiveness is self-love. Here's something often misunderstood. Forgiveness is not really about the other person. It is about you. When you forgive, you are not setting them free, you are setting yourself free. Free from the endless loop of resentment. Free from the heavy chain of what-ifs. Free from the poison of anger that eats away at your joy. You forgive not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. And when you reach this point of inner peace, you become magnetic. Not through desperation but through alignment. The heart as a magnet. Think about how the universe responds to your vibration. A heart filled with anger pushes reunion further away. A heart filled with openness becomes a magnet. If you are still holding grudges, the energy between you and your twin flame feels heavy, tangled, resistant. But when you release blame, the energy flows again like a river unblocked. You don't need to chase reunion. You become reunion. A simple practice. You're wondering how to begin releasing blame? Here's a simple practice. Sit quietly with a journal. Write down every grievance you hold against your twin flame. Don't censor yourself, pour it all out. Then for each grievance write, "This pain showed me where I needed healing." Finally, close your eyes, place your hand on your heart, and say aloud, "I forgive you. I release you. And I choose peace." Do this not once but as often as you need. Forgiveness is not a one-time act. It is a practice, a way of life. Closing thought for Chapter 2. So, let me leave you with this question. Are you holding stones of blame? Or have you cleared the soil of your heart for love to grow again? Reunion does not wait for perfection, but it does require openness. And when your heart no longer holds blame, you become ready, not just to meet your twin flame again, but to meet love itself in its purest form. Chapter 3. When love becomes a mission. At the beginning of the twin flame journey, most seekers are consumed with one burning desire, to be with the other person. Every thought, every dream, every meditation somehow circles back to them. You might wake up thinking, when will they come back? You might fall asleep replaying every past conversation, every touch, every promise. And if you're honest with yourself, you might admit that much of your spiritual growth has been motivated by the hope that reunion would be the reward at the end of the tunnel. But here's the paradox. Reunion is not the goal. It is the byproduct. The true goal is alignment with your soul mission, the work, the calling, the contribution that your soul came to earth to express. The turning point. There comes a moment when the obsession with romance softens. Instead of asking, when will we be together? You begin to ask, what am I here to do? This is a massive shift, and it marks a critical sign of readiness for reunion. Because twin flames are not simply meant to live out a love story, they are meant to anchor a mission together, to bring healing, creativity, or transformation into the world. Your mission may not look grand in the beginning. It might be raising conscious children. It might be creating art that awakens hearts. It might be starting a small project that grows into a movement. Whatever it is always something bigger than just you and them. A story of awakening. Consider the story of Aisha. For years, she believed her life would only begin once she was reunited with her twin flame. She put her passions on hold, stopped writing, stopped volunteering, stopped exploring new opportunities because she thought, what's the point if I can't share it with him? But the more she waited, the emptier she felt. Until one day, a friend invited her to help with a community project, teaching art to children from low-income families. Reluctantly, she agreed. At first, she thought it was just a distraction from the loneliness. But something unexpected happened. As she taught those children to paint, her own creativity began to flow again. She felt alive, purposeful, whole. Weeks turned into months and she realized something profound. Her mission wasn't waiting for him. It was already here, waiting for her. And the more she stepped into her mission, the less desperate she felt about reunion. Ironically, it was during this time that her twin flame reached out again, drawn not to her neediness, but to her radiant alignment. Why mission matters. Your soul mission is not a side hobby. It is the core of why you incarnated in this lifetime. It is the thread that ties your spiritual growth together. Think of it this way. Twin flames are like two pillars holding up a sacred bridge. If both pillars are weak and dependent on each other for balance, the bridge collapses. But if each pillar is strong and rooted in its own foundation, its mission, the bridge becomes unshakable. Reunion, then, is not just about being in love. It is about co-creating something that serves the collective. And you cannot co-create if you haven't yet discovered what you are here to contribute. The inner question. So ask yourself honestly, is your daily life focused only on the longing for them? Or are you building something meaningful with the gifts you've been given? If they never came back, would your life still shine with purpose? If your answer is yes, if you are already pouring love into your work, your art, your community, then you are showing one of the clearest signs that you are ready for reunion. The trap of romantic illusion. Many seekers fall into the trap of believing that reunion will automatically solve everything. The loneliness, the lack of direction, the longing for meaning. But here's the truth. If you haven't found your mission yet, reunion can actually magnify the emptiness. Because being with your twin flame will not erase the question of purpose, it will only intensify it. Two powerful souls together create a kind of energetic spotlight. And if you are not standing on the foundation of your mission, that spotlight can feel overwhelming. That's why the universe often delays reunion until both souls have stepped into their individual callings. Because only then can the union serve something larger than personal desire. Shifting from need to service. When you step into your mission, your love transforms. It is no longer about, I need them to complete me. It becomes about, we are here to serve together. This shift from need to service is the alchemy that prepares you for reunion. Think of great partnerships throughout history, spiritual teachers, activists, artists. Their love did not exist in a vacuum. It radiated into the world through their shared mission. Your twin flame journey is no different. The universe responds to alignment. When you are focused on your mission, something magical happens. You stop chasing reunion and you start embodying alignment. And the universe loves alignment. It opens doors, sends synchronicities, and guides your path with clarity. Suddenly, instead of asking, when will they return? You're asking, what's the next step in my purpose? And often that is exactly the moment when they appear again, because now the timing serves not just you but the mission. A simple reflection exercise. If you're not sure what your mission is yet, here's a reflection exercise. Think back to your childhood. What activities made you lose track of time? Reflect on your deepest wounds. What pain have you experienced that could become wisdom for others? Ask yourself, if I could contribute one gift to humanity before I die, what would it be? Write down your answers. Somewhere within them lies the seed of your mission. Closing thought for Chapter 3. So let me ask you, is your love only about romance, or has it expanded into service? When you step into your soul mission, you stop waiting for reunion like a prize, and you begin living as if reunion has already been fulfilled through your purpose. And from that state, reunion flows naturally, not as an obsession but as a divine alignment. Because at the end of the day, your twin flame is not just your lover. They are your partner in mission. And when your mission becomes your priority, you are truly ready for them to walk beside you once again. Chapter 4. The calm before the union. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine this. You wake up in the morning. And for the first time in years, your chest does not ache with longing. There is no frantic need to check your phone. No heavy cloud pressing on your heart. Instead, there is stillness. A gentle calm. This is not the calm of giving up. This is not the calm of indifference. It is the calm of alignment, of realizing that you are whole, whether your twin flame is by your side or not. This peace is not a small thing. It is one of the most powerful indicators that you are ready for reunion. Because reunion is not about escaping the chaos. It is about embodying peace so deeply that chaos no longer rules you. The storm and the shore. In the earlier stages of the journey, it often feels like living in a storm. One day, you're high on the memory of their eyes, their voice, their energy. The next day, you're crashing into despair, certain that the separation will last forever. This storm is part of the purification process. It shakes loose the illusions, the attachments, the fears. But storms are not meant to last forever. The true sign of readiness is when you become like the shore, steady, grounded, able to meet the waves without losing yourself. The storm may still come, but you remain anchored. A story of surrender. Let me share the story of Daniel. For years he felt tormented by separation from his twin flame. He would wake up in the night gripped by anxiety. He begged the universe for signs. He tried rituals, prayers, endless affirmations, all in an attempt to speed up reunion. But the more he fought, the further away she seemed. Until one day something inside him broke. Not in despair but in surrender. He realized he couldn't live his life waiting anymore. So he stopped. He stopped chasing. He stopped checking. He stopped measuring his worth by her presence or absence. Instead, he began focusing on his health, his creativity, his friendships. And little by little, he discovered a new sensation he hadn't felt in years: peace. He no longer needed her presence to validate his existence. He felt at home in himself. And ironically, that was when she returned, drawn to the serenity in him. Not the desperation. The inner question. So let me ask you. When you sit alone in silence, do you feel restless? Or do you feel at home? Can you look at the empty space beside you and feel gratitude instead of grief? Because readiness is not proven by how much you miss them. It is proven by how much peace you can hold without them. The energy of detachment. Detachment often gets misunderstood. Many think it means becoming cold, distant, or uncaring. But true detachment is different. It means loving them without clinging. It means being open to reunion but not desperate for it. It means being at peace with whatever the timeline may bring, because your happiness no longer hinges on outcomes. Think of a flower. A flower does not bloom only when someone is watching. It blooms because blooming is its nature. In the same way, when you embody peace, you are no longer waiting for your twin flame to validate your worth. You simply bloom. Why peace attracts? Reunion. Energy is everything. When you are restless, anxious, desperate, the vibration you send into the connection is heavy. Your twin flame feels it even unconsciously, and it often pushes them further away. But when your energy is peaceful, the vibration is light, feels safe, inviting. Reunion becomes possible not because you forced it, but because you created a field of serenity that naturally calls them home. This is why inner peace is not just a personal victory. It is a magnetic force. The illusion of when. Another sign that peace has taken root in you is when the question, when will reunion happen, loses its grip. In the early stages, that question consumes everything. Every sign, every synchronicity feels like a countdown. But as you grow, you realize, the when does not matter. What matters is who you are becoming in the process. When the urgency fades, when you no longer bargain with time, when you can genuinely say, I am happy now, regardless of the outcome, then you are vibrating at the frequency of readiness. Practice of peace. If peace still feels far away, try this simple daily practice. Each morning, place your hand on your heart. Breathe slowly and deeply. Say to yourself, I am whole. I am safe. I am enough. Visualize a version of yourself already living in peace, already complete. Throughout the day, whenever longing arises, return to that image. Peace is not something you wait for, it is something you practice. And like any practice, it grows stronger over time. The deeper meaning. Here's the deeper truth. Reunion is not just about being with your twin flame. It is about being with yourself. If you are restless without them, it means there are parts of you you have not yet embraced. The silence of separation is the universe's way of guiding you inward, until you discover that the love you are searching for was always inside you. When you reach that point when your peace does not depend on external circumstances, you have already won half the journey. Reunion, if and when it comes, becomes a bonus, not the foundation. Closing thought for Chapter 4. So let me leave you with this reflection. Can you sit in stillness today and feel whole, even without their presence? If the answer is yes, or even if you are beginning to taste that yes, then you are showing one of the clearest signs of readiness. Because the greatest paradox of the twin flame journey is this. Reunion arrives not when you cling to it, but when you no longer need it. And in that peace, love finds its way back home. Chapter 5. When the universe speaks louder. Imagine walking down the street, lost in your own thoughts, when suddenly you glance at the clock on your phone, 11:11. You smile because it's not the first time today. Later, as you're thinking about your twin flame, a song plays on the radio, the very same one you danced to together years ago. That night, you dream of them again, not in a chaotic or desperate way, but as if the dream itself is delivering a message. Coincidence? Or something more? When you are moving closer to reunion, the universe often amplifies its signals. It's as if the entire cosmos becomes a language, and you begin to understand it. The language of synchronicity. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychologist, described synchronicity as meaningful coincidences. On the twin flame path, synchronicities become the universe's favorite way of communicating. You start seeing repeating numbers, 111, 222, 333, 444, 555. Each sequence carries a vibration, a reminder that you're aligned, that you're on the right track. You might keep hearing their name in random conversations. You might see couples who remind you of your journey. You might have dreams so vivid they feel like meetings in another realm. These are not accidents. They are signs of alignment. They are whispers from the universe saying, pay attention. You are not alone. The path is unfolding. A story of signs. Let's take the story of Maya. Maya had gone months without contact from her twin flame. She was focusing on her healing, trying to let go of attachment. But one morning as she meditated, she set an intention. Universe, if reunion is truly part of my journey, give me a sign today. That afternoon, while waiting in line for coffee, she overheard two strangers discussing travel. One of them said the exact name of the city her twin flame had just moved to, a city halfway across the world, one she had never visited before. Her heart skipped a beat. Later that day, she saw 11:11 on the clock. Then, scrolling on social media, she stumbled upon a quote. When two souls are destined, time and distance are only illusions. These synchronicities didn't mean reunion would happen that exact moment, but they reassured her she was on the path. And within months, her twin flame unexpectedly reached out. Why the universe sends signs? Here's the deeper truth. Synchronicities are not random magic tricks. They are reflections of your alignment. Think of it like tuning a radio. When your energy is chaotic, the frequency is static. You can't hear the signal clearly. But as you heal, grow, and align, the static clears. Suddenly, you pick up the station perfectly. The universe has always been broadcasting. Now you're just tuned in. The inner question. So ask yourself, are you noticing more synchronicities lately? Are dreams guiding you? Do repeating numbers follow you in moments of reflection? If yes, it may be a sign that your vibration has risen, that you are more connected with the universe, and therefore closer to readiness for reunion. But here's the important part. Signs are not meant to be clung to. They are meant to encourage, to reassure, to guide. If you become obsessed with deciphering every number, every symbol, you can fall into a trap of overthinking. The key is to receive the signs with gratitude, and then keep moving forward. Dreams as bridges. One of the most powerful ways the universe communicates in this stage is through dreams. Dreams between twin flames are not ordinary. They can be telepathic, carrying shared experiences. They can be symbolic, showing images of healing, reconciliation, or future events. For example, Some report dreaming of being with their twin flame in peaceful settings, walking together, sitting by water, or simply holding hands. These dreams often arrive not when you're obsessing, but when you've surrendered. It's as if your souls meet in the dream world to remind each other, we're still connected. Keep going. Numbers and their meanings. You might wonder, what do these repeating numbers mean? While interpretations vary, here are some common associations on the twin flame path. 111. New beginnings, alignment of thoughts with reality. 222. Balance, harmony, trust in divine timing. 333. Ascended masters, spiritual support, encouragement. 444. Stability, foundation, angels guiding your path. 555. Transformation, changes coming, embrace growth. When you see these numbers, the universe is not promising instant reunion. It is reminding you that you are evolving, that you're supported. The trap of misinterpretation. It's important to be careful, though. Not every coincidence is a divine message. The danger lies in attaching every external event to your twin flame journey. For example, seeing their initials on a license plate might indeed be a sign, but it might also just be a coincidence. The key is not to obsess, but to notice patterns. True synchronicities repeat, come in clusters, and resonate deeply in your heart. Ask yourself, does this sign bring me peace, or does it trigger more anxiety? Genuine signs bring reassurance. If you feel obsessive, that's a signal to return inward. Why this sign matters for reunion. The reason this heightened connection matters is simple. Reunion is not just about two people. It is about divine orchestration. When you begin noticing synchronicities, it means you are aligning not only with your twin flame, but with the universe itself. You are stepping into flow, into trust, into surrender. This state of connection is essential for reunion, because reunion requires more than human effort. It requires divine timing. And the universe will always prepare the stage before the meeting occurs. A simple practice. Here's a practice for when you notice synchronicities. Pause. Take a deep breath. Acknowledge. Whisper, "Thank you, universe, I received this sign." Reflect. Ask, "What is this teaching me about my path right now?" Release. Don't cling to the sign, trust it and continue living. This keeps you from falling into obsession and allows the signs to uplift rather than distract you. Closing thought for Chapter 5. So let me ask you, are you just living in coincidence? Or are you listening to the language of the universe? When synchronicities flood your life, when numbers, dreams, songs, and symbols arrive with uncanny timing, it is not to tease you. It is to prepare you. Because the universe is not just guiding your steps, it is guiding both of you, weaving your stories together in ways you may not yet see. And when you can receive those signs with peace, gratitude, and trust, you are not only ready for reunion, you are already walking in harmony with the divine plan that leads you there. Chapter 6. Breaking the chains of the past. Imagine trying to build a new house on land that is still cluttered with broken bricks and old ruins. No matter how beautiful your design, the foundation will never be stable until the debris is cleared. The same is true for reunion with your twin flame. Before two souls can come together in harmony, the weight of ancestral karma and unresolved family wounds must be addressed. Because if you carry unhealed patterns into reunion, those patterns will not disappear. They will repeat. So, one of the most powerful signs that you are ready for reunion is this. You have healed the old wounds in your family, and you are no longer repeating the cycles of pain passed down through generations. The echoes of ancestral karma. Family is our first classroom. From childhood, we absorb beliefs about love, safety, loyalty, and worth. Sometimes those lessons are nurturing, but often they are laced with pain. Abandonment, control, betrayal, silence, or conditional love. And here's the hidden layer, ancestral karma. This refers to patterns that don't start with you. They are inherited, cycles of poverty, addiction, abuse, or abandonment that stretch back generations. Until someone chooses to break the chain, the cycle repeats. Many twin flame journeys demand that you become that chain breaker. That before you can unite with your counterpart, you must free yourself and your lineage from the shadows of the past. A story of generational healing. Let's take the story of Sophia. Sophia grew up watching her mother silently endure emotional neglect from her father. As a child, she promised herself, "I will never let a man treat me this way." Yet in her 20s, she found herself in relationships where she repeated the same cycle, giving too much, staying too long, silencing her own needs. When she met her twin flame, the pattern intensified. Every time he pulled away, she chased. Every time he shut down, she tried harder to prove her worth. First, she blamed him. But through her healing journey, she realized the truth. He wasn't the source of the wound. He was the mirror. He reflected the generational pattern she had inherited from her mother, and perhaps her grandmother before her. The breakthrough came when Sophia finally confronted the wound. She had a raw, honest conversation with her mother, where they spoke openly about years of silence and sacrifice. Tears flowed, and for the first time her mother admitted, "I stayed because I didn't believe I deserved more." That conversation became a turning point. Sophia vowed not only to break the pattern for herself but also for the generations that would come after her. She began setting boundaries, valuing her voice, and redefining what love meant. Only then did her connection with her twin flame begin to transform. The inner question. So let me ask you, are you carrying unspoken resentments toward your family? Do you feel tied to cycles of pain that don't even feel like yours? Because readiness for reunion is not just about healing the bond with your twin flame. It is about healing the foundation of love itself, the family system that shaped your earliest definitions of it. How family patterns affect reunion. Here's why this step is crucial. If you haven't healed your family wounds, reunion can easily collapse under their weight. If you grew up in a family where love was conditional, you may unconsciously demand constant proof from your twin flame. If abandonment was part of your lineage, you may cling to them out of fear, instead of standing in trust. If silence and avoidance were the family norm, you may struggle to communicate openly in reunion. The relationship becomes not a union of souls, but a battlefield of inherited wounds. But when you do the inner work, when you face those family shadows and choose differently, you create a new template. You become the first in your lineage to love with freedom, balance, and truth. Healing ancestral karma. Healing ancestral karma can take many forms. Sometimes it's therapy. Sometimes it's spiritual rituals. Sometimes it's simply having the conversations no one in your family ever dared to have. It might mean forgiving your parents, not to excuse their mistakes but to release the grip those mistakes still hold on you. It might mean setting boundaries where none existed before, saying, "This cycle stops with me." It might even mean choosing to raise your children differently, breaking patterns of silence or control. Every act of healing is a ripple through generations, both backward and forward. A practice for family healing. Here's a simple but powerful practice. Write down the family patterns you've noticed: addiction, abandonment, silence, overgiving, etc. Beside each one, write how it has shown up in your life. Then write one sentence of intention. This cycle ends with me. As you speak it aloud, visualize your ancestors standing behind you, relieved, as if you finally freed them too. This visualization is not fantasy. It's energy. Healing yourself heals the lineage. Why the universe waits. Sometimes seekers wonder why reunion takes so long. One reason is this. The universe will not bring two twin flames into permanent union until the family wounds are addressed. Why? Because without healing, the union would only replicate the same karmic pain. But with healing, the union becomes a force of liberation, not just for you, but for generations. The gift of forgiveness. One of the deepest milestones on this journey is when you can look at your parents or your ancestors with compassion. You see them not as villains, but as humans who carried their own wounds. Forgiveness doesn't mean excusing. It means releasing the chains. It means saying, "I honor the life you gave me, and I choose to live it differently." When you can do this, something remarkable happens. The anger in your heart dissolves, the weight on your shoulders lifts, and you create space for your twin flame to step in, not as another reenactment of the past, but as a partner in a new future. Closing thought for Chapter 6. So let me leave you with this. Are you repeating the patterns of your family, or are you rewriting them? When you have faced your family wounds, healed ancestral karma, and chosen to break the cycles, you have cleared the debris. You have prepared the ground. And from that clear, sacred foundation, reunion can finally take root. Not as a fragile seed in rocky soil, but as a tree whose roots run deep into healed earth. Because reunion is not just about two people. It is about generations rising, with you through you into a new story of love. Chapter 7, The State of Readiness. By now, we've explored many signs that point to readiness for reunion: emotional independence, forgiveness, alignment with your soul mission, inner peace, synchronicities, and even ancestral healing. But here's the truth. Readiness is not about ticking boxes on a list. It is not. I've forgiven, check. I've seen 11:11, check. I've meditated, check. Readiness is not mechanical. It is energetic. It is a state of being where your entire soul vibrates in harmony with love, peace, and purpose. Readiness is not perfection. Let's start here. Readiness does not mean you are flawless. Many seekers misunderstand this, thinking they must be a perfect spiritual being before reunion can happen. But perfection is not the requirement. Authenticity is. Think about it. Even after reunion, challenges will arise. Old fears may resurface. Differences will appear. The difference is not that you never feel pain again. It's that you now meet pain with awareness instead of panic, with compassion instead of blame. So don't pressure yourself to be perfect. Ask instead, am I living from a place of wholeness more often than from a place of fear? The energy of enoughness. One of the clearest markers of readiness is when you feel, deep in your bones, I am enough. Enough without their presence. Enough without constant reassurance. Enough even when life is imperfect. This doesn't mean you stop desiring reunion. It means the desire no longer feels like desperation. Feels like an open invitation. You don't grip. You don't cling. You stand with an open heart, knowing that your worth is not measured by whether they stand beside you or not. This state of enoughness radiates like sunlight. And like sunlight, it attracts without effort. A story of integration. Consider the story of Liam. Liam spent years cycling through obsession, heartbreak, and longing for his twin flame. He devoured books on spirituality, chased every sign, and tried to force reunion through sheer will. But nothing worked. One day, after yet another meditation session, filled with frustration, he whispered, I'm tired of waiting for my life to start. That sentence changed everything. Instead of focusing on what he lacked, Liam began focusing on what he had. He poured his energy into his music, something he had abandoned. He started volunteering at a shelter once a week. He reconnected with friends he had neglected. Slowly, his life became full again, not because his twin flame returned, but because he returned to himself. Months later, something shifted. He realized he hadn't thought about reunion in days, maybe weeks. And when he did think about it, it didn't hurt anymore. It felt like a gentle hope, not an aching wound. That was the moment he understood. He was ready. Not because everything was perfect, but because he had integrated the lessons. His peace, his purpose, his forgiveness, his independence, they were no longer practices. They had become his way of being. The inner question. So let me ask you, are you still measuring readiness by what you do, or are you beginning to feel it in who you are? Do you still see healing as a chore to complete? Or has it become your natural rhythm? Because readiness is not about striving harder, it is about softening into who you truly are. Signs working together. Let's pause and reflect on how the signs weave together. Emotional independence allows you to stand tall without leaning on them. Forgiveness clears the heart of heavy stones, making space for love. Soul mission gives your love a direction beyond personal desire. Inner peace stabilizes you no matter what the timeline looks like. Synchronicities confirm that you are aligned with divine timing. Family healing clears ancestral debris, so you can build a new foundation. Together, these are not just signs. They are ingredients. And when they blend, they create the alchemy of readiness. Why readiness is magnetic. Have you ever noticed how attractive peace is? Think about the people you admire, not because of their looks, but because of their energy. They walk into a room, and something about them feels grounding, safe, magnetic. That is what readiness feels like. When you embody peace, forgiveness, purpose, and openness, You radiate an energy that your twin flame cannot ignore. Not because you're chasing them, but because your soul has become a beacon. Reunion, then, is not something you run after. It is something that finds you naturally when your energy calls it in. Readiness beyond romance. Here's something even more profound. Readiness is not just about union with your twin flame. It is about union with life itself. When you are ready, you don't just attract your counterpart. You attract opportunities, friendships, synchronicities, abundance. The flow of the universe opens, because your energy is no longer blocked by fear or clinging. You stop asking, when will they come back? And you start asking, how can I live more fully today? And that shift is exactly what brings everything, love included, into alignment. A gentle reminder. If you're listening to this and thinking, I'm not there yet, don't worry. Readiness is not a finish line. It is a journey. Every time you choose forgiveness over resentment, you step closer. Every time you choose peace over panic, you step closer. Every time you choose authenticity over perfection, you step closer. It's not about rushing. It's about trusting that each step prepares you in ways you may not yet see. Closing thought for Chapter 7. So let me leave you with this reflection. Are you striving to be ready? Or are you beginning to live as ready? When readiness stops being a checklist and starts being your natural state, you will know. Because you will feel it not as a question but as a quiet truth. And from that truth, reunion becomes not a distant hope, but an inevitable unfolding. Because readiness is not about chasing them. It's about becoming the kind of soul who no longer needs to chase. Because everything you're meant for flows toward you in divine timing. Chapter 8, The Mirror Test. Picture this, you're sitting quietly at home, perhaps sipping tea, reading a book, or simply scrolling through your phone. And then suddenly there's a knock at the door. You open it, and standing there is your twin flame. Right here, right now. How would you feel? Would your heart overflow with calm joy, ready to welcome them without hesitation? Or would panic rise in your chest? Memories of old wounds, unresolved fears, questions you're not prepared to face? This question, am I ready if they appeared today? Is one of the most powerful ways to measure your readiness for reunion. The illusion of wanting. Many people believe that wanting reunion is the same as being ready for it. But there is a difference. Wanting comes from longing, from desire, from the ache of separation. Readiness comes from alignment, from balance, from inner peace. You can desperately want reunion and still not be ready. You can crave their presence, but if you have not healed the wounds, the reunion would only reopen them. So the real test is not how much you want them. It's how much you've grown into the person who can receive them with open arms and a steady heart. A story of premature reunion. Consider the story of Alex and Renee. After months of separation, Alex's twin flame, Renee, suddenly reappeared in his life. At first, the reunion was electric. Messages every day, long conversations, promises of a future. Alex thought, finally, the wait is over. But beneath the excitement, both of them were still carrying unhealed wounds. Alex was still insecure, constantly seeking reassurance. Renee was still fearful of commitment, easily triggered into pulling away. Within weeks, old patterns resurfaced. Arguments flared. Silence returned. And soon they were back in separation, more painful than before. It wasn't that they didn't love each other. It was that they weren't ready. This story is a reminder. Reunion is not just about meeting again. It is about meeting as transformed souls who can sustain the connection, the inner question. So ask yourself, if they knocked on your door today, what would you bring into that reunion? Would you bring peace, forgiveness, and purpose? Or would you bring anxiety, blame, and dependency? This is not about judgment. It's about awareness. Because awareness gives you the power to grow into readiness. Emotional preparedness. Emotional readiness means you no longer expect them to fix you. You can hold your own ground. You can love without clinging. You can disagree without collapsing. Imagine them saying something that once would have triggered you. I need space. Would you spiral into fear? Or would you respect their process while holding your peace? If you can choose the latter, you are emotionally ready. Spiritual preparedness. Spiritual readiness means you trust divine timing. You understand that reunion is part of a larger plan. You are not rushing, not forcing, not manipulating. Imagine they returned but then hesitated, taking things slower than you'd like. Would you push, demand, and question every move? Or would you flow with patience, trusting the unfolding? If you can flow, you are spiritually ready. Practical preparedness. There's also a practical side. Are you living a life that can welcome reunion? Or are you still entangled in toxic patterns, unstable circumstances, or unresolved responsibilities? For example, if you are still in unhealthy relationships, reunion would only complicate things. If your life is in chaos financially, emotionally, energetically, reunion could crumble under the weight. Practical readiness means your life has enough stability to welcome their presence without collapsing. The mirror exercise. Here's a practice you can try. Sit quietly, close your eyes, and visualize your twin flame walking toward you. Imagine them standing in front of you, looking into your eyes. Ask yourself, what do I feel right now? If you feel calm, expansive, and open, that's readiness. If you feel anxious, fearful, or defensive, that's a signal of areas still needing healing. Do this exercise often. Each time, notice what shifts. It's like holding up a mirror to your soul. Why this question matters? The reason this reflective test matters is simple. Reunion is not a fantasy. It is a reality that will demand presence, maturity, and love in action. If you are not ready, the universe may delay reunion, not as punishment but as protection. Protection for both of you so that when it does happen, it lasts. Because reunion is not just about getting together. It's about staying together in a way that uplifts both souls and serves the greater mission. A story of readiness. Now let me share another story, this one of true readiness. Ella had spent years in separation. At first, she clung to every sign, every hope, waiting for her twin flame to return. But over time she shifted her focus. She began healing her childhood wounds, repairing her relationship with her family, and stepping fully into her career as a healer. One day her twin flame reached out unexpectedly. The old Ella might have panicked, flooding him with questions demanding clarity. But the new Ella responded with calm. She welcomed the conversation but without attachment. When they met in person, she felt something astonishing, peace. She wasn't afraid of losing him. She wasn't desperate for his validation. She was simply present. That meeting blossomed into a sustainable reunion not because circumstances were perfect but because she was. The paradox of readiness. Here's the paradox. When you are truly ready for reunion, you no longer need it to validate your worth. You welcome it with joy, but you are equally at peace without it. And that very state, the absence of neediness, the presence of peace, is what magnetizes reunion into your life. So readiness is not about grasping. It's about being so whole in yourself that when they arrive, you can embrace them freely, without fear of loss. Closing thought for Chapter 8. So let me leave you with this reflection. If your twin flame appeared today, could you receive them with open arms and an open heart? Not as someone who completes you, but as someone who walks beside you in fullness? If the answer is yes, or even if you are moving toward that yes, then you are closer than you think. Because reunion is not about wanting them back. It is about becoming the version of yourself who no longer needs to grasp because you are already whole. And in that wholeness, love does not just return. It stays. Chapter 9. Beyond the two of you. When most people think of reunion with their twin flame, they picture the personal joy, the long-awaited embrace, the tears of recognition, the love story finally fulfilled. And yes, reunion is profoundly personal. But there is something even larger happening beneath the surface, something cosmic. Because twin flame reunion is never just about two people. It is about the collective. It is about anchoring a vibration of love that ripples through humanity. When you heal, you don't only heal yourself. You become a lighthouse, a transmitter of energy, a node in a web of consciousness that affects everyone around you. And when you and your twin flame reunite in alignment, that light multiplies. The ripple effect. Think of dropping a stone into a pond. The ripples spread outward, touching every part of the water. Your healing is that stone. When you release anger, when you forgive, when you choose peace, that energy doesn't stop with you. It affects your family, your community, even strangers who cross your path. People feel your calm. They sense your authenticity. They are changed simply by being in your presence. Now imagine the power of two souls, perfectly mirrored, vibrating at that frequency together. The ripple becomes a wave. This is why twin flame reunion is not just a romance. It is a mission. A mission to contribute to the healing of humanity itself. A story of collective impact. Consider the story of Jonah and Alina. Both had been on separate journeys of healing for years. Jonah focused on meditation and mindfulness, while Alina poured her heart into community activism. When they finally reunited, something remarkable happened. Their individual missions merged. Together, they started a project teaching meditation in schools, blending Jonah's wisdom with Alina's passion for social change. What began as a small workshop became a citywide program, touching hundreds of young lives. Their reunion was not only about personal happiness, it became a force of transformation for others. The inner question. So ask yourself, when you imagine reunion, do you only think of how it will serve you, or do you also see how it could serve others? This is a critical shift in perspective. Because if reunion is treated only as personal gratification, it can collapse under the weight of expectation. But when it is approached as a shared mission, it becomes sustainable, purposeful, and profoundly impactful. The web of consciousness. Science is beginning to confirm what ancient traditions have always known. We are connected. Our emotions, our thoughts, our vibrations ripple outward. HeartMath Institute research has shown that the human heart generates an electromagnetic field detectable by others several feet away. Now imagine two hearts in coherent resonance. The field expands, and when those hearts are in twin flame union, the resonance can ripple into the collective consciousness, uplifting others in unseen but real ways. Your reunion, then, is not private. It is planetary, healing collective wounds. Twin flame journeys often require healing not only personal wounds but also collective ones. Patterns of inequality, oppression, separation, and fear that have plagued humanity for centuries. For example, some pairs embody the balancing of masculine and feminine energies. Their reunion becomes a template for equality and partnership in a world still healing from patriarchy. Others may embody the healing of racial, cultural, or religious divides, proving through their love that unity transcends the illusions of difference. Your love story is bigger than you. It is part of humanity's love story, the burden and the gift. This can feel like a heavy responsibility, but it is also a gift, because it means your struggles are not meaningless. Every dark night of the soul, every tear, every separation serves a purpose beyond your personal life. When you break a cycle in yourself, you help break it for others. When you choose compassion over resentment, you inject compassion into the collective field. You are not just healing for you. You are healing for us all. A practice of collective intention. Here's a way to embody this perspective. During meditation, visualize yourself surrounded by light. Imagine that light expanding outward, first to your twin flame, then to your family, then to your community, then to the world. Whisper, "May my healing serve the healing of all." This practice aligns you with the collective mission of reunion. It reminds you that love is not meant to be hoarded. It is meant to be shared. Why the universe waits. Sometimes seekers wonder why reunion seems delayed. One reason may be this. The universe is not only aligning you and your counterpart, it is aligning the collective circumstances that will allow your union to serve its higher purpose. It is not only about your timeline, it is about divine timing for humanity. This can feel frustrating, but it is also awe-inspiring, because it means your story is part of something infinitely larger than yourself. A story of service. Take the story of Carlos and May. Separated for years, they both found themselves drawn to humanitarian work. Carlos to environmental causes, May to refugee support. They didn't plan it, but when they reunited, they discovered their paths were complementary. Together, they launched a foundation addressing both ecological sustainability and human displacement. Their reunion became a beacon of hope for communities that had nothing to do with their personal love story, yet everything to do with their mission. This is the power of union in service of the collective. The inner question again. So let me ask you, if you reunited tomorrow, how would your love ripple outward? Would it simply satisfy personal longing? Or would it light the way for others? This question matters because readiness for reunion is not just readiness for love, it is readiness for service. Closing thought for Chapter 9. So here is the reflection I leave you with. Are you preparing only for personal happiness, or are you preparing to let your union serve the world? When you shift from me to we, and from we to all, you step into the highest dimension of the twin flame path. Because in the end, reunion is not only about two souls finding each other. It is about humanity finding itself through you. And when you carry that awareness, your love story becomes more than personal. It becomes a gift to the collective. Chapter 10. The Journey into Wholeness. Every step of the twin flame journey has brought you to this moment. From the turbulence of obsession to the serenity of inner peace, from the heaviness of blame to the lightness of forgiveness, from the ache of separation to the realization of your soul mission, you have walked a path few can fully understand. And now, as we close this exploration of readiness for reunion, one truth shines above all others. Reunion is not something you chase. It is something you become. Looking back at the signs, let's pause and look back at what we've uncovered. Emotional independence taught you how to stand in your own strength. Forgiveness opened your heart to love without conditions. Soul mission reminded you that your life has a purpose far beyond romance. Inner peace showed you how to rest in the present moment, without clinging to the future. Synchronicities confirmed that you are guided, supported, and never alone. Family healing helped you break cycles so that love could root itself in fresh soil. Integration proved that readiness is not about perfection but about wholeness. The mirror test revealed whether your energy could truly welcome reunion if it arrived today. The collective dimension showed you that your love is not only for you but for humanity. Each of these is not an isolated sign. Together they form a tapestry, living proof that you are evolving into the version of yourself who can hold divine love without fear. The final test. Here is the question that matters most. Are you at peace with yourself? Because readiness is not about waiting for them. It is about becoming whole in your own being. It is about walking into every day knowing, I am complete. I am loved. I am enough. Few can say those words with conviction. Then whether reunion comes tomorrow, next year, or in another lifetime, you are already living the essence of union. A story of completion. Let me share one last story. Naomi had been on the twin flame journey for over a decade. She experienced separation after separation, each time believing it was the end. For years she longed desperately for reunion. But over time she grew tired of living in longing. So she shifted her focus. She started traveling, pursuing her passion for photography. She healed her relationship with her estranged father. She poured her energy into mentoring young women. And one day, something extraordinary happened. She realized she no longer needed her twin flame to feel whole. She loved him, yes. She honored the bond. But her happiness was no longer tied to his presence. That same week he reached out. Their reunion was beautiful. Not because it erased her journey, but because it crowned it. She met him not as the girl who once clung to him, but as the woman who had become whole. Their love was different now. Stable, mature, expansive. And it all began the moment Naomi stopped searching outward and found union within. Union within, union without. This is the great paradox. Reunion with your twin flame begins the moment you no longer need it. Because union outside is a mirror of union inside. When you are fractured within, the connection remains fractured without. When you are whole within, the connection naturally aligns. Your twin flame is not here to complete you. They are here to reflect you. And when you embody wholeness, that reflection becomes radiant, irresistible, undeniable. Your role in the collective awakening. Remember, this is bigger than you. Every act of healing you commit to, every boundary you set, every tear you release, every truth you speak, adds to the collective field of love on earth. When you become whole, you raise the vibration of humanity itself. You become a beacon of what love can look like when it is free of fear, free of conditions, free of chains. Your reunion, if and when it happens, is not just a personal milestone. It is a contribution to humanity's awakening. A closing practice. Before we end, here's a practice to carry forward. Place your hand on your heart. Say aloud, I am whole. I am worthy. I am enough. Breathe deeply and visualize yourself radiating light outward, not just to your twin flame, but to your family, your community, and the world. Whisper, may my love serve the collective. Do this often, because reunion begins in these simple, quiet acts of wholeness. The final reflection. So, dear listener, I leave you with this. Are you ready to stop waiting and start living? Because readiness for reunion is not about perfect timing, perfect healing, or perfect circumstances. It is about choosing, right here and now, to live as if union has already bloomed within you. When you do, life changes. The universe responds. And reunion, whether with your twin flame or simply with your own soul, becomes not a question of if, but of when. Call to action. This journey has spoken to your heart. I invite you to reflect. Which of these signs resonates most with where you are today? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your story. And if you're committed to walking this path with courage, healing, and love, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Together, we'll continue exploring the mysteries of the twin flame journey and the ways it leads us not only to each other but to ourselves. Because at the end of the day, the greatest reunion is not with another soul. It is with your own.